Abundance and restoration. Yes, my name is Brittany Simone, and that's the title of this video: Abundance and Restoration, or Restoration and Abundance. And I have come across some very sound advice. I was given a stone and said, breathe. And I'm like, breathe? Well, for a long time, I unconsciously held my breath. There were people who were checking my pulse to see if I was still breathing because I was unconsciously holding my breath. While I was in the hospital, they were always checking my vitals and my pulse, not just because it was standard procedure, but because they were saying, at night, sometimes you don't breathe. I'm like, how do you not breathe? But that's because something unconsciously was occurring. And I began to look at it because the way you do one thing is how you do all things. And it dealt with not believing and understanding that I would be restored and that you have to hold on to something. I felt like I had to hold on to something. So it showed up, of course, in my body. And the biggest way that I would understand is in my breath. And so it started showing up in breathing. I was holding every breath. And then what was I doing? I was trying to hurry up and get everything out in one breath and just talk, and not breathe, and just keep on breathing and keep on breathing and keep on breathing. But I was trying to hold everything in one breath because at some point I believed that I had to do everything at one time. I had to do everything at one time. And then I would hold on to it because I was feeling like I don't know when the next good, best, great, big thing is going to come. So I'm going to hold on to what I have. But in this journey in ministry and, of course, growing up and becoming an adult, an ambitious adult, of course, I really had to ask myself, why do I not hold my breath? Why do I just hold on to it? Or why do I unconsciously not breathe? And that's because I had a fear of not having another good thing. I had a fear of not receiving it again. So I'm going to hold on to what I have. I was ultimately cutting off my circulation and ultimately cutting off my abundance because I was taking constantly. And, what you take is, those who take will have things taken from them, of course. But what you give, there will be more given. I had to understand abundance. I have an abundance of air all the time. And it wasn't the air. That was just the expression that the Father used to help me understand it. But I'm constantly generating something. I'm constantly putting things in circulation. I am constantly being restored. When you sleep at night, the body restores and heals itself. When you drink water, you're restoring the water that you may have lost while sweating or just walking. Blinking, you are using water. Swallowing, you're using water. Everything about you, you're using water. But you have to restore it and replace it by drinking more water. And water is abundant, yes. It is abundant. I really had to understand abundance, for I have come to give you life and that more abundantly. I got away from that ability to have abundance. When I was a kid, my dad would always tell me, Simone, whatever you put out there, you always get back double. And I believed that up to a certain point. But that happened. My mother always had money. I would always see her going to the bank, and she would always have money. Until a certain point where she started saying, I don't have it. But that's her cross to bear, not mine. But paying attention to your environment determines what grows. And so I had to start creating a different type of environment. And it wasn't the environment outside of me. It was the environment in my mind, because I was taking on so much stuff and trying to hold on to everything and trying to do everything at one time instead of being patient. One of my other videos, patience, let patience have his perfect word. And now I'm seeing just how instrumental breathing is and how simple that it is. You breathe in, you breathe out. You need that for everything. While you're eating, you should breathe. Take multiple bites so that your food is digested and you're not congested. I also sing. And I can sing very well, but I can't always hold the note, not because I can't hit it, but because I don't have enough air in my lungs to actually belt out that note. And when I do, I use all of that air at one time. So when I come down off that note, it's hard for me to catch on to the next one because I'm literally out of breath. I had to really understand that my body, life will constantly restore what I give. And I can have access to it abundantly. That's just the way that life showed up to show me, Simone, you need to realize you're going to be restored. There's always more. There's always more. There's always more. And now that I really have that understanding, I am breathing consistently, not so much as unconsciously holding my breath. Even to the point where I've noticed that even my breathing dealt with my thoughts. I was constantly thinking, and rushing. Even with my voice, just my normal voice, I'm breathing and taking deep breaths to where my voice, it is deeper. Because normally everyone is just used to me talking like this and I'm just so happy and just so energetic. That's because I'm holding on to the breath in the middle of my chest and not actually taking deep belly breaths. It's also relaxing. The body is getting oxygen. Every part that needs that oxygen is now getting that oxygen because I'm not holding my breath. Every part of my life is now getting what it needs because I'm not holding on to what was. Even when it comes to love and relationships, right? And being honest, had my first love, high school sweetheart. Not together now, but once upon a time, I was holding on to that feeling that we had until they told me, no, you deserve it. Because I'm like, well, maybe it's time for me to look into something more, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. And that's all you'll get out of me about relationships, honestly. That's not something I'm comfortable or mature enough to talk about just yet, I would say. But you have to realize that life always have more of a good thing, not just one. And then we go from glory to glory. Because every level of glory has a level of restoration. At that level you're getting ready to come from. It's going to catapult you into the next level of abundance. It's going to give you more glory, and more glory. So now I am paying attention to my breathing. Even to the point where my heart sputtered. Like you would hear a car that could barely start. That might need a tune-up. Well, my life needed a tune-up. Because my heart sputtering scared the hell out of me. I didn't like that. And when I tried to do it again, I couldn't do it again. Until I realized I was just holding my breath. And now I'm not. So life is always going to restore what you give out. And it's always going to give you more because life is abundant of more. Even things we may see no longer exist, the Father has more expressions of something totally new that we need to be aware of. Like this phone. The flip phone is no longer in existence. I hope that it does come back because I love the flip phones. But if not, the Father had a newer, higher level and expression of how to communicate. We've gone from telegrams, mail, Pony Express, railway, to switchboard, to now Wi-Fi calling. You didn't even need a phone network. You just use your Wi-Fi. And I'm saying, what will my kids be using? What if they grow up and say, Ma, you talked on that? Why? You could have just talked on this. And then we have to go through the whole conversation about abundance. But life will always restore what was taken out or what may have gone away for a season, because there are seasons for everything. Because life has an abundance of opportunities. We just have to realize that it does. And then breathe. So, good morning. I am Brittany Simone. Yes, of course. Restoration and abundance is It has been my thinking points and topics with my meditation, because not breathing is serious. But that's because something in my life I was trying to hold on to, I was blocking the next intake of glorious breath and life by holding on to it, thinking that for some reason I was lacking in something. But I'm my Father's child. And he said, I come to give you life and that more abundantly. So God bless. Enjoy your week. Hasta luego.